Today we celebrate the memorial of St. John Chrysostom. And of all of the life of the saints that I've got to read about, I can say without a doubt that the most exciting life that I've ever read about is the life of St. John Chrysostom. The amount of things that this man had to withstand and had to suffer for God's glory is unbelievable. I remember going through this book and saying, how can so many things happen to just one person? He is, for the Eastern Church, what St. Augustine is for the Western Church. He is possibly the most emblematic and significant church father for the Eastern Church. And he is also probably the most eloquent and outstanding preacher that the church has had. And today I want to share with you guys 3 anecdotes from his life that can help us understand why when we did the collect prayer today, we spoke about his invincible patience. St. John Chrysostom was made Bishop of Constantinople. And right from the start, he made the decision that he wanted to please God and he didn't want to please men. So I think that the first week that he got to Constantinople and he took possession of the episcopal palace, he took away all the furniture, he dismissed all the cooks and all the servants. He occupied only one room of the palace where he lived with a fellow monk. They only had a meal once a day that was cooked by his fellow monk. And this brought him a lot of difficulties. Because bishops in those times, like today, they were expected to host many events. And he started gaining many enemies because when bishops from other places came to Constantinople to stay in his episcopal palace, they were expecting a great reception. They were excited about going to Constantinople because they thought they would, be fed in banquets. But St. John Chrysostom understood that he could not please men and please God at the same time. And he made a decision to please God. So right from the start, he started making enemies with other bishops. The second measure that he took when he was Bishop of Constantinople, he said that no priest in his diocese was allowed to have housekeepers. In those days, the regular practice was that each priest could cohabitate with a woman that would take care of his meals and of his, household chores. And these women, they were called agapetas. They were in charge of, they were housekeepers. And St. John Chrysostom said, in my diocese, no priest will have women living under the same roof. And priests were not happy with their new bishop. So not only did he find enemies among the bishops, but he also started finding some enemies among his own priests. But St. John Chrysostom understood that he could not please men and God. He had to choose who he wanted to please. A little later in his life, those days, the empress was called Eudoxia. And she was a very vain woman, arrogant. And she had a beef with St. John Chrysostom. And she decided to build a huge statue of herself outside of the church of St. John Chrysostom. And initially, St. John Chrysostom sighed and he said, okay, I'm going to allow this. But when he was celebrating Mass, there was a lot of sounds outside because of the building of the statue. So he came up with a great famous sermon where he denounced the building of the statue. And guess what? St. John Chrysostom was exiled because of that sermon. And St. John Chrysostom died in exile, away from his beloved diocese and away from his beloved people. But he chose to do that sermon because he knew that he could not please men and women, men and God. and he chose to please God. So today, brothers and sisters, when we have this spectacular example of a saint who always chose to please God and not men, let us finish with this question. Who am I choosing to please in my life? Is there any aspect in my life where I'm choosing to please men instead of choosing to please God? Is there an aspect in my life where I'm looking for a compromise? Where I'm choosing, to content everyone instead of looking only to content God? So today that we admire St. John Chrysostom's invincible patience, let us turn to the saint and ask from him his intercession, saying, help us to choose only to please God and not men.